to be and live my life off screen, taking time out to be and live my life.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine and this is Inside Out with Jazz. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by again. And if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Get comfortable, stick around for a while because we've got a good one for you today. For today's video, I wanted to talk about forgiveness and basically getting to the other side of that. The reason why I wanted to talk about forgiveness in particular today is because it is a topic and something that has recently come up in my life and has really been to the forefront and something that I've had to deal with personally. So after working through some things and kind of mending relationships, I felt really motivated to sit down and just kind of talk with you guys about some of the things that have helped me, because forgiveness in particular has been something that I was really kind of black and white about. There was like no shades of gray for your girl over here. But that was a lot more of Jazz in her 20s, and now that I am in my 30s, early 30s, my perceptions and my thoughts and my beliefs surrounding forgiveness as a whole has changed. And I'm really proud of that, because when I look back with my new lens and my new insights and wisdoms and maturity that my life experiences have now brought me, I look back and I think like, I didn't handle that so well, or I could have did things a little bit differently. But I was in my 20s and probably younger than that, and that's life though. Like I don't regret it, but I see things differently than when I was back then. I see things a lot differently than how I used to before. So, and especially forgiveness. If you've been watching my channel for some time now, you already know I am a Cancer moon, and so I'm a highly emotional, sensitive individual. And let me tell you, falling out with people, if I fall out with you, especially back in the day, you cut off. Like I used to be really proud about like having a strong cutoff game, because that in my immaturity, that was my way of kind of like protecting myself and making sure that whoever I felt violated me or hurt me or kind of crossed the line with me would basically just never ever have the chance to do that to me again. It was my way of just protecting my vulnerability, and I think that's what a lot of us do, right? So when I look back on how I used to be able to just kind of walk away from a relationship so quick, not even so quickly, but in my fixed Taurusness, for me, it would be like once I felt like I've given enough to the situation, or I have tried enough on my part, and there's been no resolution, like I'm done. Like I'm washing my hands, I'm keeping it moving, keeping it stepping, and you're pretty much never gonna be in my space or in my face ever again. And this is not to say like you need to forget. This video is going to be really targeted towards like dealing with forgiveness with people that you kind of can't walk away from, like family or business relationships. Or not that you can't walk away from people, because if something is completely and totally toxic and unhealthy for you, yeah, keep it moving, keep it pushing. But there are some exceptions to the rule, right? Like not every time you have a falling out with someone, and not every time someone hurts you or makes a mistake, like that they should be thrown out of your life or be written off and never given a chance to improve and to change, right? Because we are all human beings, we are all very flawed, and as life progresses, we learn and we get wiser. But until those moments happen, we're doing the best that we can. And so this is not for the people that because even for myself, like there's people that are no longer in my life and they don't belong in my life at all, period. Like they were here for a season and that's all they were meant to do, and that's fine. But then there are other individuals, like let's say family members, or if you have children with someone, basically is what I'm saying. If you have a child with someone, like these are relationships that you can't kind of all the way like throw out the window or just completely remove yourself from, because there's a tie there, right? Whether it's blood, whether it's a child, whether it's work related or a project or financial, like, excuse me, like say, excuse me, like say an investment or something, a business venture, whatever the case, whatever the scenario is, right? And so that's what I mean, and that's what I want to focus on, is realizing that there are some situations in our lives that we may think in the moment, especially in the heat of the moment, that it's over, there's no coming back from it. But you know, life has a funny way of surprising you, and I know that especially happened to me recently, because there are some situations that I didn't even think I was gonna be able to be in the same room with certain people, let alone get to a place where we can have a conversation, make amends, and then continue to you know, function and live around each other or be around each other and just have like a decent time. So that's really what I want to focus on, because I absolutely understand that there are individuals that just do not belong, and that's okay too. Like, you really got to be able to identify the people that are just not meant to be there and are super toxic and draining and doing nothing but leeching off of, you know, your energy or whatever makes you amazing. They're taking and not giving anything to the situation. So we don't want those, right? One thing that I've realized is the importance of giving things time. And you might have heard me mention the importance of time in like my I did a video about if you're having trouble with being like single, and I kind of talked about time. But time is everything. It really is, at least if you use it wisely and properly. Like, if you really take advantage of time and not like wasting time, you know, like actually doing something with the time that is given. Like, time is everything. And especially if there are hurt feelings involved, miscommunication or blowouts, or boundaries have been crossed, a lot of disrespect has happened, and it can just feel like the end, right? So the first thing is to give things time, let things breathe, kind of like a wound. You gotta let it get some air, gotta let it breathe a little bit. And you also need to take time, the proper time, to go through your feelings, whatever they are, and related to the circumstance that you're going through in the situation. Give yourself time to let the highs and lows happen, because especially for a person like me, I'm gonna go from being mad to angry to sad to this to that, and it's just like an up and down roller coaster ride for me emotionally, you know. And I'm also somebody that likes to overthink, so I'm gonna need a lot of time to process, and that is okay. Give yourself the time that you need to process, and to just kind of get to a more level-headed, steady space with the circumstances, right? Because for certain situations, like even if you bring it up or say anything that can trigger a memory, it can like set, you know, if you're not fully, not even fully, but if you're not in a good space with that, or you haven't given yourself enough time to work through your feelings and the things that have happened between you and that person or persons, you know, it's just gonna be bad, and you're just gonna feel angry. So wait it out. And let me tell you about time, because your girl is a Taurus sun. So Taurus, we are very slow moving, and especially so for me in particular when it comes to moving through and working through hurt feelings. I do not do well when my feelings are hurt. It's just not a good situation. Some people can shrug it off and bounce it off, but that has taken me it's taken me time to get to that place and to that point, because that's not how I've always been. Give yourself the allotted time that you need, and there's no right or wrong. Like, there are situations that have taken, I'm talking like more than 5, 6, 7 years for me to even be able to, like, yeah, I mean, even see you, be in your space. Like, there's been more than one situation in my life where I've needed like years to kind of come around. But that has a lot more to do with like my immaturity and being in my 20s. That's why I think it's taken so long to kind of come full circle and reapproach certain fallouts or situations, you know, because I still had a lot of maturing and growing to do on my own. But what I really want to stress and what I really want to get to is the most profound thing that I have taken away from dealing with forgiveness and trying to work through troubled waters and problems with people is learning to trust myself. And what I mean by that is, when I look back at how I would handle situations with people or falling out to arguments, I would like not be around you or come near you, is because I didn't know how to properly protect myself. And I also did not truly intrinsically believe in my ability to have a good judgment of character and just have the appropriate skills to make good judgment calls, right? I didn't, deep down inside, I didn't really believe that I had what it takes to be able to maneuver and keep certain boundaries in place while I was around certain people. Like for me, it was just like, you just got to be away. And also another thing too is, and this is, it's gonna sound a little conceited, but whatever, I also feel like because I'm such a nurturer and such a lover, like me in particular, like to be around me is a gift. Yeah, period. So to be in my space, to even have to be around me, I used to really feel like, yo, like that's a gift. So if I don't like you, if I want to be around you, if I'm not dealing with you on any level, you can't even be in my space, because to be in my space and to breathe the same air as me is a freaking gift, right? So that's where my mental was. But and it sounds cocky on the surface, but deep down inside, it's just my way of trying to protect myself, because I'm all mush, I'm all soft in the inside, you know what I mean? So the tougher the exterior, the softer the inside, and that's really me. So yeah, so I hadn't grown enough, and in my healing journey, I just was not at the time and place to have these revelations. And you know, I've worked myself to this point where I can have a new lens and a new perspective and opinion when it comes to this type of thing, and just dealing with difficult situations, uncomfortable situations and topics and scenarios, especially situations where I genuinely feel like I've been betrayed or hurt or you know, just totally violated and disrespected. You know, like that's really hard. But in the end, when you're able to give things the appropriate amount of time, you know, kind of calm down, because, you know, depending on the circumstances, you know, it might take a really long time for that topic or that situation to not ignite this like instant heat and anger and rage or whatever intense emotion it is tied to that situation. So it might take it could take some time to kind of cool down a little bit. But once you get to that space, you really want to think about what role and part you played in the situation. And I know, like, you're like, ah! Excuse me? Even if we feel completely justified, everything in our lives we play a role in, and it's up to you to figure out what part did you play, because that's what's going to help you move forward in a healthy, positive direction, is when you're able to look and see, like, what role did I play in the situation, right? It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't mean you deserved what happened to you, but it's just more of a way and a tool to self-reflect and figure out, okay, well, maybe if I would have did X, Y, and Z or blah blah. Again, no, I can't give too much of a specific scenario, because there's so many different situations out there and circumstances and details. And, you know, when it comes to forgiveness, there really isn't a one size fits all. But there has to be flexibility on your part. There has to be a want. For me, in the situations that I was dealing with, my biggest thing, I think I've realized, because I'm such a family-oriented person, or not even, yeah, I am family-oriented, but I think overall about the bigger picture, and about, you know, how is my personal problem and my personal feelings affecting the collective, you know? And I think when I realized that certain things, it wasn't really fair for everyone to have to suffer over my personal issue and what I'm going through, that's when I started to, that's what began me wanting to move a little bit differently when it came to forgiveness. Because it was kind of like people were paying for something that it wasn't their fault, and they kind of really, it's like guilty by association type of thing, like, you know. And it just, especially if it's like a family situation or any type of close tie situation, friends, work, whatever, it's like it begins to bleed into everything, and then everything becomes infected and has this just like this draining energy, this pull down feel. And it's just, you know, no one can really like thrive and grow and feel happy and healthy and blessed in that energy. So for me, it was just like, okay, how can I not be so selfish in just my hurtness? Because it's not everyone's fault, right? Whoever you know, we shouldn't make other people pay for what we're going through. And at least that's how I felt. There are certain things that have happened in my life that have opened my eyes to really, you hear it all the time, how short life is, but holy crap, it is. When you go through certain things or you suffer certain losses, it takes on a whole new meaning when you hear about life being short. And for me, I want to do everything I can in my power to continue to live a peaceful, healthy, happy, prosperous life, joyful, abundant life, you know. And if I have all of these points of contention, if I have all of these unresolved issues with people, like, I'm really just lugging baggage through life, and I want to unload as much as I possibly can. I want to get rid. I don't want to have any issues, right? And so one other thing I want to circle on before we close out is, if I have truly learned the lesson that I was supposed to when dealing with that certain situation, then I should be able to move forward without any kind of like resentment, and also with an innate trust within myself to know that I'm gonna set up the proper boundaries when dealing with this person. Let's say you have a falling out with a family member, right? You don't have to not be in the same room as that family member. You can just create certain boundaries so that that person can't have necessarily the same access that everyone else or other people in your circle or that are close to you have. You know, they might only experience or be allowed to experience kind of like a cordial, amicable, just a real civilized kind of businessy version of you, and that's okay. Like, it's hard. That dance is hard, and it's taken me time to get there, because especially with me, like, when I'm comfortable around somebody and I feel close to somebody, like, I just want to be completely unfiltered and totally myself. Like, I don't want to have to worry about like kind of walking a certain line with that person. Like, I want to be completely unfiltered and 100% authentically me. And sometimes you can't be that way with everybody, even family sometimes, or friends, or let me not say friends, but sometimes even with family, you kind of can't be like that, because you have to learn to meet people where they are. And a lot of the times we have these labels, you know, best friend, boyfriend, husband, sister, brother, cousin, mom, dad, whatever, and all of these are labels, right? So in your mind, you create like, well, if this is my brother or if this is my cousin, then certain things should come with that, right? Like certain actions, like you create expectations based off of those labels. And for me especially, what I've learned is that, you know, it's not about the label. It's about truly paying attention to who that person is, who they've shown you. All right, boom. So we're just gonna keep going. We're not gonna let this show stop. We're just gonna keep it moving. So anyway, what the hell was I saying? Because the memory card did get filled up. So I think the last thing I was touching on was, what the hell was I saying? Oh, ability to maneuver around folks that have hurt you, but you have to like keep certain boundaries in place so that you can, you know, just be able to coexist in the same room and not like have the entire room just feel tension filled or tight or uncomfortable. Like, nobody wants to deal with that, right? I cannot stress enough just the lightness and the almost like just the peace that comes with unloading baggage and really just working through like, and let me just say this. Because you forgive someone does not mean that you have to take them back in their full capacity, does not mean that you even have to take them back at all. But again, if it's a situation where you kind of have to be around this person for whatever the reasons or circumstances are, and you need to kind of like, you know, you need to navigate life because they're going to be around regardless, right? You can't really make them go away. So give it time. Someone eventually has to initiate the contact. You have to be open too, because it's not just about that person being open to what you have to say, but you also need to come in with the same type of energy and openness, and be willing to hear their perspective and their experience, right? Because everybody, I don't care, we all have our perceptions and what we feel has happened and what has transpired. So you want to create the space that you would like for someone else to do for you, and be open the way you would want someone to be open to your feelings and the things that you have to say. It's not easy. It's super duper not an overnight thing, but can it be done? Yes. And life feels better after, you know, when you are able to just have a comfortability within yourself, a surety within yourself that you have truly learned your lessons, have looked at the situation and have taken everything that you can from it, so that you're able to move forward more protective, smarter, and just with peace, right? So again, because you forgive somebody does not mean that they have to have full access to you and all that you are and all that you bring to a partnership or a situation. You know, you can keep boundaries and certain things in place so that you're able to maneuver and navigate in a way that not everyone is negatively impacted. And I think that was like the biggest thing for me. You know, like sometimes it really is just about doing what's best for the collective. It doesn't mean that you have to neglect yourself or you have to act like nothing has ever happened. None of that. But for me, it was a motivator. You know, and I'm happy that things have turned out the way that they have. You know, like I said, I've made progress with people that even a month ago, I'm not even sure I would have said that we would be in a good space or in a good footing, but I'm happy that we are. And you know, I really wanted to make this video to encourage people that if there are any loose ends in your life, if there's any areas of contention or drama or stress or hurt, like, do what you have to do so that you can get to a place to have a conversation about it. Because I promise you, good or bad, a conversation is always necessary. There's just no way to move forward without talking, if you have the ability to talk. Because on certain extreme situations, you never know if a person has passed or got sick, or you don't know whatever. But if you have the ability to, jump on it, take advantage of it, because in the end, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna feel lighter, and you're gonna exude a certain just aura and beautiful energy that just attracts so much more of that into the universe and into life, period. And that's what I want. I want to continue to just attract a lot of positivity and light and joy. You know, I've had plenty of drama and stress in my 20s, child, plenty. You know, y'all know I had to make notes for this video. Meeting people where they are, right? Like Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. You know, especially when it comes to realizing a person's shortcoming, because that's another thing too. We see the potential in people, but then when they do things that don't fall in line or meet the standard to the potential we see them at or feel that they are able to get to, you know, that creates disappointment. And then that turns into all other kinds of things that, you know, creates problems, it creates misunderstandings. So try not to set unrealistic expectations with people. Try to really see people for who they are and where they are in that space. It's not to say that they won't change or things won't progress, because things are changing and progressing with us. So just because someone's at a different pace doesn't mean it's never going to happen for them. But to save yourself from headaches and being drained and stressed, like, try to make sure that you are seeing that person for their shortcomings, not just for the potential you see in that person and where you feel like they could totally get to, because they're obviously not there yet. So that's a hard one. It's not easy, but it can be done. And when you're able to do that, I'm telling you, like, life really changes. Like there's something that just kind of opens and happens when you're able to accept people for who they are and where they are at that moment in life, and not take it personal. Just keep focusing on you, keep that self-love going, keep working on your dreams and your goals and your aspirations and your household and family or whatever, and just focus on the things that continue to energize you and encourage you and make you feel really, really, really good. But don't forget about those loose ends, because that's baggage. Okay, when we don't deal with things and then we try to go along and move forward with life, because the world and life does not stop happening just because, you know, we going through stuff. And you don't want to get to a situation that's totally unrelated to anything that you haven't dealt with, and then all of a sudden you're blowing up, or you're acting like an ass, or you're embarrassing yourself, or you just got this negative, jaded, bitter energy, and like nobody want to be around you and stuff. So, and it really, in the end of it, it's just for you. It's for you to have peace. Forgiveness is so for you to have peace. And let me be clear, like a lot of the situations that I'm referring to, I know I'm being kind of like vague and I'm not getting like too specific, but it's, you know, sometimes forgiveness requires several conversations, follow-up conversations. You know, you start off with one and you may not be able to get through all of the issues and all of the things, but that's a start. And that's okay if you can't settle everything and figure everything out right in that one setting, but get the ball rolling and just be willing to, you know, to let things flow and take its natural course. And as long as you keep doing what you're supposed to do, keeping your integrity intact, your morals intact, also, like I said before, really realizing the role that you've played in the situation. And like I said, doesn't mean that you are at fault, but still you have to realize everything we do in life, we play a role in it. So once you're able to figure that out, it unlocks so much. It really, really does. So, woo! I feel like I rambled enough, y'all. How y'all feel? I think that pretty much wraps it up for this video, as far as like the things that I wanted to share with you that have kind of been new revelations for me in my journey with forgiveness and healing and working through hurt feelings. And also, I really, really hope this helps someone or motivates someone, or at least even starts to just plant the seed of you kind of thinking about people that have hurt you, or family, or falling outs, or whatever, and opening up to some different scenarios or perspectives, because the ones you may have in your mind, in your head, may have kept you stuck up until this point. So, and I would love to hear what you guys think. If you have any scenarios or any situations that you need some advice on and you want to reach out to me, please shoot me a DM. I'll leave you should see my Instagram somewhere around here, but I would love to hear from you guys. If you don't want to drop a comment down below because maybe it's a little personal, but would love to hear what you guys are going through, and if you have any situations that need a little guidance or help, talk to Miss Jazzy. I'm here for you. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed, make sure you got your post notifications on, and don't forget to like this video. And I will definitely see you soon, but until then, like I always say, be good to yourself and others. Peace.